been burned. Black Lives Matter flags and one Trans Lives Matter, as well as several signs, were burned Monday night. Signs at the First Congregational Church were also set on fire. Cops think the vandalism is connected, but they haven't disclosed any information on possible suspects. Tensions are reportedly rising among Hollywood studio executives regarding how the writer strikes and actor strikes are being handled. Deadline reporting, the leaders of several major studios met with each other Wednesday. Deadline reporting, the legacy media companies and newer media companies have differing approaches on how to handle the strikes. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. $2.96. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
Is this the time?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are aiming for something tonight they've never done before in franchise history. A win over the Atlanta Braves will close out August with 25 wins. It would be the first time the Dodgers won 25 games in a month since moving to LA from Brooklyn in 1958. The Dodgers are 24-4 in August. The Clippers will have their training camp in Honolulu. The 5-day camp begins October 2nd. First preseason game is October 8th against Utah in Honolulu. The Clippers are giving all proceeds from that game to relief efforts and victims of the wildfires in Maui. Next game for USA basketball in the FIBA World Cup is Friday against Montenegro. They played Lithuania on Sunday. The U.S. is 3-0. Lakers guard Austin Reeves is a backup on that roster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First Black on Talk Radio, left side of the nation. First. Me and Dominique the Prima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted Black and Brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique the Prima. Go sis. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning. Happy Friday. God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. This right here is called First Things First, the show, of course. My first thing, of course, every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from God Almighty, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders and getting it going. We got a lot to talk about. Like Money B said, let's do it. Okay, so typically what we do is hour one, we look local. We focus on what's going on right in front of our noses, right down the block, around the corner. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive on a topic or a person that we want to engage with. And we're kind of, sort of, pretty much doing that today. Hour one is just you and me. We will have our regular contributor, Sherry Bell, joining us in hour two, so she'll get a chance to chop it up with me about some of the national issues. And you're invited in every hour, 800-920-1580. The third hour, we are going to be talking about how to get a college education without losing your mind, painlessly, is what she says. And I think it's instructive for those who are starting school right now, and probably instructive for those who have loved ones who are starting school or in school right now. Getting into college is just the first step. Once you get in, once one gets in, one hopes that they stay in, right? And especially with our young people, retention, the ability to stay put and succeed once you get to a spot is super crucial, and it's not always easy. And so I would expect, especially in these days where affirmative action is no longer technically legal, that we would want to take all the measures we can to make sure we can succeed. So Dr. Veronica Carey will be joining us today to talk about that. So yay, I get to talk to you today, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. If you want to review, replay all the stuff that we do during the Mercury retrograde, anything that happened during the week, love to hear from you, 800-920-1580. If something's bothering you, let's talk about it. Lord, I guess I'm going to be doing an internet-free show today because apparently I do not have connectivity, but that's okay. We do have a lot to talk about. Yesterday, I started in on the LA City Council moving $150 million of the Measure ULA money into, approving it for use. And we kind of got stuck on the controversy being these challenges to the measure. One is a ballot measure that will be on next year that will try to outlaw that particular measure we passed with an overwhelming margin, 59%, that was meant to create more affordable housing, but also housing for the unsheltered. And it's a really improved bill from stuff we've done in the past because it allows us to build on existing structures rather than everything having to start from scratch. It emphasizes not just the unhoused, but those who are housing insecure. All of these things which we were so excited to have passed because we learned from Measure HH and HHH, which we also talked about yesterday, that we've got to be able to have more flexibility if we're going to really create the kind of housing inventory that we need to get out of this crisis. I believe it's 500,000 units. See, I'm saying I believe because I don't have my internet here to quickly 500,000 units. I'm going off the top of my head, but I believe it is about 500,000 that we need in the state of California to get enough housing stock for everybody to easily be in a place, right? So that means we're going to have to pick up the pace considerably. And building on top of existing housing, i.e. all of these office buildings that are sitting there vacant or mostly vacant that could be converted, or abandoned malls, half abandoned malls because a mall is just not what it used to be, that already have plumbing and electrical and all these things in place that could be quickly converted. Those are things that ULA, in theory, allowed us to do. And so the City Council, the LA City Council, moving that $150 million in theory. Now, that's being challenged by a dumb ballot measure that I hope we will soundly defeat, because it will mean that any city that wants to add or subtract a tax to pay for a thing like housing its homeless will have to get a 2/3 vote. This is one of those Republican stealth moves where we can't win in the general election, so we're going to try to sneak it around the side door during an off-brand election, meaning one that doesn't, attract as much attention, or maybe one where we are distracted by the presidential politics and we are not paying as much attention. So I think they are trying to slip this through. On the other hand, it's being challenged in the courts. So we got to talking about that, because how and when will this money actually appear? But the important thing that I did not mention is that these dollars have been designated in ways that really do make sense. And even though the rich people have decided they don't want to sell their mansions now because they don't want to pay a small tax to help end the unhoused persons crisis by getting a slightly less profit when they sell their $5 and $10 million mansion. But the thing, the good thing is that these funds have been designated for things like the eviction crisis, right? Where all of these folks are in serious trouble. Lots of folks, because of the debt that accrued during COVID, when there were what we'll call, breaks for you, right? You could pay your rent later. You could make a deal with your landlord. You could not pay it at all. Try to get some help from the state. Well, all of those things have dried up now. And as a result, you can get evicted easily, and folks are getting evicted in droves. So the fact that the city council designated some of this money to go towards, for example, eviction help is significant. And so I want to make sure I, give the city council props for that. They have designated money for housing, which is not surprising. That was the main thing that we were looking for in that. And so this is a time where we're going to have to really pay attention, because when we, the voters, put something in place, it reminds me of the LA County Measure J. We put something in place, and then the people that didn't want it challenge it in court, or they put an initiative on the ballot, or both, or they try to undermine it. It's incumbent upon us to track it and not end up saying, well, I don't know what happened to Measure HH, to say this is what happened and this is what we need to do better next time. ULA is something that we designed learning from the lessons of unhoused people in the past, and we need to follow the thread and make sure. I mean, of course, we can't control what happens in the courts, but we sure can with the dumb measure that's coming in 2024 to try to overturn it and make sure we do everything we can to say that as voters, we said what we said and we meant what we meant. Love to hear from you, 800-920-1580. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
21 days of beauty. 21 days with daily beauty steals of up to 50% off. 21 days of slay. 21 days of yay. 21 days of are you kidding me right now? Beauty's biggest event is on now till September 16th at Ulta Beauty. Discover irresistible deals on must-have brands like IT Cosmetics and Fenty Beauty by Rihanna. Plus, new launches from Pat McGrath Labs. Shop in store, online, or pick up today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. 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 Reese's.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and it's powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
Attention taxpayers. Ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Let's get back to me. Let's get back to you. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. So what's good with you? I like to know. I feel like, I hate to say this. Don't get mad at me, all my friends and KBLA delegation in the Bay Area, but the San Francisco is really going through it. And even though we are going through it in Los Angeles as well, I feel happy that we're at least making some strides, that we have elected some progressive city council members, that we have elected a progressive mayor. And by the way, speaking of our progressive mayor, she will be in studio with me next Thursday at 8:30. So if you want to check in on our monthly Mornings with the Mayor segment, Mayor Karen Bass will be here. There's so much rhetoric, so many talking points around our cities going to hell in a handbasket and the smash and grab robberies and houselessness, that it's easy to get into this mindset that we're literally living in hell. And that's just not the truth. The fact of the matter is, if you are data driven, which I know it's hard to remain that way when things are emotional, when you see people suffering in the streets, it's easy to just go strictly to an emotional response. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that we've got to fact check ourselves. And when we fact check ourselves, we find that crime is down in Los Angeles. And that's a blessing, right? No shade to other cities. It's just that I think because LA struggled so much in the 80s and 90s during the crack, cocaine, Wild West years, that some of the intervention and prevention programs, some of the care first models that the voting public has insisted on, things like Measure ULA, have created a more humanitarian environment, which is interesting because when you talk about California, the young man who was on with us yesterday talking about reparations, Rashid Littlejohn, in one of his online analysis or rants or whatever, He takes California to task for not passing the law to end legalized slavery inside the prisons. And you've heard me complain about that many times too. It's ridiculous. Then Assemblywoman Sidney Kamlager tried to pass it, didn't happen. We'll try again. How could that happen in liberal California? Well, because California is not just liberal. California is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We've got very progressive and liberal folks in cities on the coast. And then when you go inland, you've got some very, very conservative folks, right? We're seeing it play out with the whole fight around transgender care and transgender youth policies in schools, where you have your San Franciscos, your LAs that are quite progressive. And even within LA, right, city proper, you've got the West Side, which votes one way, the wealthier, whiter side of town. And then you've got the East Side, the blacker and browner and Asianer sides of town, which are generally more progressive. I'm not saying that all Asian people are, all Latino people, all black people are progressive. I know we're not a monolith. But generally, that's how the maps break down. California is Jekyll and Hyde, right? Which one was the bad one, Miles? Was it Jekyll or Hyde? I don't remember. I think it was Dr. Jekyll was the good one and Mr. Hyde was the monster. I don't know. Whichever one Mr. Hyde is, that's what you get basically in your Orange County. You got this hardline, anti-immigrant, anti-black. And again, don't get mad, or do get mad. If you get mad, call me, 800-920-1580. That makes for good radio. But the point is that California is like two states rolled into one. It's like a bipolar nation state because we're bigger than most countries in terms of our economy and the number of people. So he's correct. We need to pass that bill. But what he's overlooking is saying, the shame of California. And that's why when I look at LA, I feel like we are reflective in many ways of the best of what it is to be Californian. Now, it's true we do have problems. I'm not saying that we don't. But at least we're doing something about it. We're making moves. We're actually moving in a more united manner than many big cities. I was sad when I went home to see how all of that massive wealth from the tech industry moved in, transformed the city, pushed a lot of the people, lower income people out, and then they more or less left. So it's like the city got swarmed by locusts and then they ate everything and left. Why do I say that? Because when COVID hit and everyone could work from home, and then a lot of these places like the Facebooks and the Airbnbs that had headquarters there in San Francisco, they let their employees work from home. Many of those folks moved to cheaper places like Texas, Nevada, Montana, like anywhere. And so many of those restaurants, those markets, the things that had been literally put in place to cater to these very wealthy young tech people have gone out of business. And the balance between, we had in San Francisco, you had very wealthy and very, very low income, under-resourced folks. And now it's more of the under-resourced folks because many of those big tech money people have left. They're working from home out of Arlington, Virginia, or wherever the heck they went. And actually probably not there because that's not cheap either. But leaving a city that had reformed itself to their whims, struggling to bounce back. And it made me sad because I love San Francisco. I grew up there. Of course, there's lots of spots that are thriving and some places that you can't even tell, but you could really, really feel it in the downtown area. And, I know they have an African-American woman mayor. They have progressives there who are working on policies, but it just seems a lot more polarized, if you can believe that. So, for all of our disagreements, I think And all the work we still have to do, we can pat ourselves on the back for making those moves and laying the groundwork. And I think it's important that we remember that and not get caught up in the if it bleeds, it leads mentality, which says it's dangerous, it's scary, everything is terrible, it's never been this bad. But that's not the truth. We have to look at the data. What does the actual evidence say? That's our KBLA thing, but I hope it's our progressive thing, is to be evidence-based. It would be a lot easier to do a compelling show if I could just do what the Hannitys of the world do and just get on here and make stuff up. You know, UFOs have taken over the city with no evidence, right? And then they'll rant on about that for an hour. The snowflake woke UFOs taking over. But that's just fiction. And I think we don't serve ourselves when we take in fiction as fact. Fiction is meant to be fun, fantastical, flights of the imagination, read a novel, watch a scary movie. That's all good. I've got nothing against fiction. But when we get into the if it bleeds, it leads. When those folks write those news headlines, they write them to get you to click. It is literally clickbait, or to stay on the channel, you know. And so it's always going to be the most bizarre, scary, sensational story. But we have to look at it in the context of where we are in reality. What did the data show? The data show crime is still way down from the levels that it was in the 1980s and 90s, way down. The smash and grab thing, yeah, I think I agree with what Tim Cornegay said about that, which is that it's not new. That did happen. It's happened at different times in history. It's back now for whatever reason, and it's something that is very sensational. News likes to focus on it, so you know they're great pictures. It's dramatic, but is that making you more unsafe? Well, if you're a Gucci purse, it is. But not if you're a human being, you know, and so let's not be naive in being buffeted around by sensationalization of headlines. Yeah. And let's note our victories. That's why I was talking about this, you know, ULA. That was a victory. You have to defend it, but it was a victory. 23 million voted by the council for eviction defense, means keeping you in your place. 23 million toward income support for seniors. What does that mean? A senior who can barely pay their rent, they're on a fixed income because they're living on Social Security like many seniors do, and many of us may end up doing, because most Americans do not have a retirement savings or a retirement plan. The average American, black, white, everybody together, has like $3,000 saved for retirement and emergencies. The average California family can't handle a $300 emergency. So just put things in perspective. 23 million toward income support for rent-burdened seniors. Yes, important. And 18 million for rent debt assistance, the people that have back rent due that would otherwise end up possibly in a tent near you. Yes, we got challenges. We got things we got to work on, but let's not be caught up in the hype. And when I talk about the two states of California, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde that we love so much, I love California. I'm a California kid, even though I was born in New York, raised here. Love, love, love it. But we've seen that play out in the banning of books, right? We were talking about that with a library director, Sky Patrick. And now we're seeing it with the transgender children. These are things that we expect to hear from so-called red states, but they're happening here and they're happening fast, and I will share some of that with you when we come forward. But look, it's a great time to call me, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Today's episode of First Things First is brought to you by Wealth Management Financial Advisors. They've got tax services, they've got financial planning, and they can help you get your ducks in a row if you are a small business. Connect with them at wealthmanagementlb.com. That's wealthmanagementlb.com. I'm Dominique DePrima, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is rejecting talks about removing the district attorney prosecuting former President Donald Trump. During a news conference Thursday, Kemp said a special legislative session to impeach Fulton County District Attorney Bonnie Willis would likely be ruled unconstitutional. Several Republican lawmakers in Georgia have called for Willis, who is black, to be removed or punished after Trump and 18 co-defendants were charged for allegedly trying to overturn the state's 2020 presidential election. The son of a former South Carolina lawyer convicted of murdering his family says his dad is innocent and that the trial was unfair. Buster Murdaugh talks about his father, Alex Murdaugh, on a Fox Nation documentary out this week called Fall of the House of Murdaugh. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. $2.96. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
Are you looking for a tax preparation firm that understands the unique financial challenges of African American business owners? Then look no more. Wealth Management Financial Advisors can prepare and file your individual and business taxes. They're committed to providing their clients with the best possible service. See how they make the greatest impact on your taxes. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com or call them at 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The best two teams in baseball squared off last night at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers came up one run short to the Atlanta Braves and missed out on a franchise milestone. The Dodgers were trying to win 25 games in a month for the first time since the team moved to LA from Brooklyn in 1958. The Dodgers finished among 24-5. Mookie Betts had 51 hits in August. Betts also hit his 37th and 38th home runs last night. The Dodgers get another shot at the Braves tonight. Francis Tiafoe, the only black American male left in the U.S. Open, knocked off Sebastian Offner of Austria in straight sets. Tiafoe, ranked 10th in the world, moves into the third round. He takes on Adrian Manarino of France today at 11 a.m. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Allocution of Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas, voiced by Ben Guillory. Good morning, Your Honor. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to address the court. I've had a full and intense 20 months to reflect on the circumstance in which I find myself. It is true that I have chosen to exercise my constitutional rights as a citizen to offer the best possible defense for myself. But I feel that it's important, Your Honor, to make clear to you that I in no way want to convey anything but respect for you and for this court. Further, I want to assure you that when this is completed, I will accept the outcome of the judicial process and give full and respectful compliance in accordance with the law. Your Honor, I believe it's fair to say that this case exists somewhere between what is clearly legal conduct on one end and clearly illegal conduct on the other. In between, there is a line that distinguishes actions that are legal and actions that may be ill-advised but not illegal. While I definitely disagree as to whether I cross that line into illegal conduct, I acknowledge with clarity where I belong was at the end of the spectrum where there would be little, if any, question of even the appearance of unlawfulness. The very perception that I deviated from proper conduct in this matter is truly distressing as well as harmful, and I deeply regret it. My actions, and the fallout from those actions, have hurt my family, beginning with my wife of 44 years, who should never have had to go through an ordeal like this. I apologize to her with every breath and with my whole heart. And I apologize to my sons and daughter-in-law and grandchildren, as well as other family members whose lives have been disrupted and traumatically impacted. Additionally, the anguish that I feel causes me to say I'm sorry to all of my constituents, colleagues, and employees who have believed in me for so many years, but who may now have doubts. I sincerely apologize to them not only for playing a role in bringing about those doubts, but also for no longer being able to be there for them in service. I can only trust and believe that the future will afford me the opportunities to continue to find ways to serve them and their families, to remove doubt, and to restore faith. Your Honor, I give you and my former constituents and all those here today my pledge that I will find a way to continue to learn from this devastating experience, to emerge from it as a more conscientious person, and to go forward once this is behind us with humility, with renewed commitment to service, and with undaunted hope for a purposeful life dedicated to the communities who rightfully expect and deserve the very best of me. Your Honor, I thank you.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Appreciate you. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580 if you want to get in on this conversation. So Mr. Hyde is the evil one. Dr. Jekyll, supposedly a kindly scientist, but Mr. Hyde is actually his evil alter ego. So I guess there's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in all of us. But I'm talking about the state, a state where we seem to be really, there's not a lot of middle ground. There's a lot of, the far right wing extreme and the conservative extreme and the progressive extreme. And we have Anonymous on the phone calling from LA. It's always a little scary taking an anonymous call because could be anybody. Good morning, Mr. Giuliani. How are you?
Mr. Giuliani? Oh, my God. No. I've actually talked to you before. I'm in the so I have to be a little bit careful. But what do you when you talk about what happened to Mark Ridley Thomas, we forget that you have
Your phone is going in and out. I'm not sure if it's because of where you are or if there's something you can do to fix it. I'd love to hear your viewpoint. I know you brought up Mark Ridley Thomas, the sentencing, of course, on Monday, really controversial for many of us. And, 3.5 years is what Mark Ridley Thomas was sentenced to by Judge Del Fisher. The feds had asked for 6 years, and his team asked for home confinement only. Probation asked for 18 months. And the judge went pretty hard at Dr. Ridley Thomas. 3.5 years, a lot of time for what many believe will be overturned on appeal or is not even criminal, as you heard Dr. Ridley Thomas making the case. That's being read by the great actor Ben Guillory, but it is a transcript of the words of Mark Ridley Thomas and what he said to the judge. And a lot of people have a lot of feelings about that. And, from from what I see, the people I know personally, and people that call me, people that hit me up on all the social medias, outlets, which you, of course, are encouraged to do, the sentiment is overwhelmingly in support of Dr. Ridley Thomas. But I do see some folks on social media taking a different tack and saying that, he should have got more and this and this and that. I feel like a lot of those folks are reacting to not having a full reading or understanding of what he was convicted of and what he was acquitted of, because there were quite a few of those charges that didn't stick. In any case, as you can hear in that reenactment, Dr. Ridley Thomas has to walk a fine line because he is challenging this verdict. He is appealing. So you have to be contrite and respectful of the court, but you're not going to confess if you're appealing the ruling and you feel that you still could be exonerated. I was talking on the air with Areva Martin, attorney Areva Martin, who does our afternoon drives around here. Brilliant attorney. We were talking Tuesday, and we were discussing the op-ed that was written by Chief Bernard Parks, former city council member Bernard Parks, where he said that he felt Dr. Ridley Thomas should have gotten even more time. And I did hear from the chief, who I've had a great relationship with him and his family over the years, interviewed him more times than I can count, on more radio stations than I probably can count. Okay, I probably could count them, but, Chief Parks was pushing back on what Areva Martin and myself were saying, and saying that it wasn't sour grapes. That's how I interpreted it. That was based on his analysis, I'll say. His analysis of the career of Dr. Ridley Thomas. And I get that there is room for a difference of opinion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Parks made the point that by saying that there was racism involved, that we're somehow cheapening the idea of racism impacting cases where it really does impact them. And I think Attorney Areva Martin made the argument, and I will agree with this argument, that our justice system is impacted with systemic racism from head to toe, from gavel to gavel. So it's not a cheapening, it's an acknowledgement of the reality. But he sent me a quote, and I'll read it to you. He said, "I'm hoping you'll read it and get a fresh perspective and a more thoughtful conclusion." This is from Chief Parks. "Sure, I lost the race, but not because of him, more because I was unwilling to do what it apparently took to win the supervisor's seat. Unfortunately, back in 2008, winning that seat meant selling yourself and your soul to Maria Elena Durazo and her LA County Federation of Labor. Mark showed early on that he would bend over backwards to receive $10 million in campaign money. I would not, and wouldn't you know, it's Mark who got into trouble." And so I get that that's, your perspective. And like I said, Chief, you obviously have a right to your opinion, and I would never presume to speak for you. I don't know any politicians who don't bend over backwards for donations from somebody. It's part of the game, right? Or I shouldn't say game, part of the job. It's one of the reasons why so many folks talk about campaign finance reform and the idea of public financing for campaigns if you could get enough signatures or somehow prove that you have the support. He goes on to say, I'd rather be where I am now than where he's going. I'd never switch places with him. I don't know if he could say the same about me. After all, the biggest loser in that election wasn't me. It was the public who was fooled into electing a future criminal. Again, I respectfully disagree with your opinion. I think that we, the public, benefited greatly from the public service of Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. Whether it's a bridge across La Cienega so you can walk, if in the complete reimagining and renovation of the Baldwin Hills Scenic Overlook, which he shepherded through, which gets us this, now to the point where you can actually walk from South LA to the beach. If you've got, the stamina to go whatever it is, 23 miles, you can do it. Or whether it's the bringing back from the dead of the Martin Luther King Community Health Center, which is literally saving lives every day. I don't feel tricked by that. I feel sad by what's happened now, and I also, feel sad by the division. And, and that doesn't undermine your service or your contributions. It's just, it is what it is. And I think if we're going to deal in facts, which is where I started off today's conversation, I think we need to acknowledge that with all due respect. And respect is definitely due. So I said I was going to talk about, you guys get me off on this tangent and that tangent, but I did want to touch on the fact that we're now in a stage in our Jekyll and Hyde reality where, we are seeing policies come into being that you would expect to see in a red state, right? That you would expect to see in Arkansas with Governor Huckabee Sanders. We're going to have several measures on the ballot in 2024 that seem like they're coming from a red state. And we'll see, because, again, with these initiatives, it worries me because a lot of times people vote for one thing and they think they're voting for another thing. One of the ballot initiatives will ban trans women from competing in girl sports. And the other one would ban transgender care for youth. So these red state battles are now coming to California, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde will have a battle to the death. I would put the rent control in that same category. We'll see how it plays out. I want us to track it now so we don't get confused when it shows up on our ballot named the exact opposite of what it really is. I'm Dominique DePrima, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Are you looking for a tax preparation firm that understands the unique financial challenges of African American business owners? Then look no more. Wealth Management Financial Advisors can prepare and file your individual and business taxes. They're committed to providing their clients with the best possible service. See how they make the greatest impact on your taxes. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com or call them at 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877.
Support comes from Getty, presenting The Gospel at Colonus, a theatrical event under the stars that reimagines the story of Oedipus. Blending Greek myth with Black spiritual practice, the show follows the blinded Oedipus as he seeks redemption after a lifetime of tragedy. Co-produced by Court Theater, conceived and adapted by Lee Brewer, with music composed by Bob Telson. Thursdays through Saturdays this September at the Getty Villa Museum. Tickets available now at getty.edu.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
So a man and a woman were arrested by this task force that's meant to shut down the retail theft. They claim this was an organized theft ring, that they were fences. I think I remember that term from like old movies where they would steal a bunch of stuff and sell it off the back of a truck or out of a warehouse. These arrests were made by the CHP as part of that retail task force. They arrested 2 people. They said they had found a location where a lot of this stuff had been taken that was being resold, and that it was stuff from smash and grab robberies. I'm looking at the pictures. It doesn't look like the same stuff. I don't know. See a bunch of bras and stuff like that. And where are all the Gucci purses? Makeup. Well, I guess that would have been. I remember that they ran into the Sephora store. So they're claiming it's organized crime. And I think they're saying it was in like a storefront, like a, bootleg store full of bootleg things. Almost $200,000 worth of stuff. But this isn't, again, it's not the Gucci purses. It's deodorants, underwear, bras. Yeah, so, okay. It is spectacular. Woo, look at all that stolen stuff. But again, is it our priority as a city? You tell me. Remember Rachel Dolezal, the white lady pretending to be black who was on the NAACP and teaching ethnic studies? We've got a sort of a brown-faced version of that going on here in Southern California. Another professor, what is it? I'll tell you about that one. Crazy, crazy case out in Riverside when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
We boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Extended Family Outreach Ministry presents Praise Fest 2023, Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. Morning worship, keynote address, and conference featuring women in creative arts ministry and leadership sharing our stories, His glory, giving all praise, honor, thanksgiving, and glory to God. Don't miss the afternoon Stand Up and Sing Praises concert with the Katinas, gospel singer Babby Mason, Three Daughters, and Kevin Click. That's Praise Fest 2023, Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. For more information and tickets, go to Praise Fest 2023 at eventbrite.com. Plus, for the next 48 hours, use promo code KBLA48 to get your tickets free. You do not want to miss this day of praise. That's Praise Fest 2023 at eventbrite.com.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Right, so why is it always ethnic studies? I don't know, but a professor named Andrea Smith has been accused of violating the faculty code of conduct, and by violating the faculty code of conduct, they mean pretending to be indigenous when she is not. She claimed that she was of Cherokee heritage. Now she is resigning. It's interesting, though, because she is denying that she's a fake indigenous person, but also resigning. So if I'm really Cherokee, I should be able to, one, prove that, and two, why would I resign? She's resigning, and in a spectacular display of privilege, she will be allowed to keep teaching through next August. You get a whole year to teach as a fake Native American indigenous person? I cram to understand. 13 different faculty members apparently lodged complaints against Miss Smith. But and she's out of there, but she gets to keep her retirement pay. She gets to teach for a whole other year, and she's getting her attorney fees compensated by the university. Make it make sense. I mean, if that's the deal, then everyone should just go ahead and pretend to be an ethnicity that they're not. If you can teach in the ethnic studies department for a whole year as a fake indigenous person to ease you out. Could you imagine if it was anything else? If you faked that you had a doctorate but you really didn't, you would have to be out of there immediately. Nobody would be paying your attorney's fees. Nor would you get to keep teaching for a whole year. Can you imagine if you faked being an expert at anything? You would have to be out of there. Why do you get to stay being a fake indigenous American? Isn't that just as important for authenticity as anything else? I really, that bugs me. It doesn't seem right. And of course, maybe we can try to get her on this show. Because is this a thing now? It seems like it's a thing. I feel like I've read 3 or 4 similar cases. There's these recurring news stories, i.e. someone pretending to be black, indigenous, or Latinx who really isn't. The recurring news story about dumb exercises around slavery that white teachers do for Black History Month, where they force kids to reenact our enslavement. These dumb recurring stories behind the backdrop of, reporting that shows the data that show this insane rise in hate crimes. And the fact that every year since we've been keeping track of such, Black Americans are the ones that are the main targets of those attacks. It backs up the old adage, everybody want to be black till the police come. Everybody want to be indigenous until the income comes or the health disparities show up. The black tax or the indigenous tax, as it were. if this is a thing, I'll pretend to be black, indigenous, Latin, and then I'll go and teach in ethnic studies. That's not okay. She needs to be out of there tomorrow. And honestly, it doesn't make any sense, because you could be a white person and be an expert on indigenous culture and have studied it and gone in depth upon it and done a thesis and gotten your PhD, and you could teach in ethnic studies. There's no rule that says you have to be a person of color to teach in ethnic studies. But faking it, lying about it, and somehow asserting that you have firsthand knowledge, no, that's not okay. Well, it's time for you to call me. We're talking national issues. So many important and interesting things to unpack. Boy, this Trump stuff is really ratcheting up, and I'm celebrating Rudy Giuliani. Ha ha ha. Yep, he has lost his case against those election workers. We're going to unpack that and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is rejecting talks about removing the district attorney prosecuting former President Donald Trump. During a news conference Thursday, Kemp said a special legislative session to impeach Fulton County District Attorney Bonnie Willis would likely be ruled unconstitutional. Several Republican lawmakers in Georgia have called for Willis, who is black, to be removed or punished after Trump and 18 co-defendants were charged for allegedly trying to overturn the state's 2020 presidential election. The son of a former South Carolina lawyer convicted of murdering his family says his dad is innocent and that the trial was unfair. Buster Murdaugh talks about his father, Alex Murdaugh, on a Fox Nation documentary out this week called Fall of the House of Murdaugh. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. $2.96. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. The best two teams in baseball squared off last night at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers came up one run short to the Atlanta Braves and missed out on a franchise milestone. The Dodgers were trying to win 25 games in a month for the first time since the team moved to LA from Brooklyn in 1958. The Dodgers finished the month 24-5. Mookie Betts had 51 hits in August. Betts also hit his 37th and 38th home runs last night. The Dodgers get another shot at the Braves tonight. Francis Tiafoe, the only black American male left in the U.S. Open, knocked off Sebastian Offner of Austria in straight sets. Tiafoe, ranked 10th in the world, moves into the third round. He takes on Adrian Manarino of France today at 11 a.m. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Street Science, you're on the air. What do you feel when you hear a record like Tupac's new one?
I love Tupac's new record.
Right, but don't you feel like that creates tension between East and West? He's talking about killing people. I had sex with your wife, and not in those words. But he's talking about, I want to see you deceased.
Look there. To live and die in L.A. California. What you say about Los Angeles? Still the only place for me. It never rains in the sun. To live and die in L.A. Where every day we try to fatten our pockets through the hard times, worrying faces. Shed tears as we